Okay, good afternoon all. Super proud to be here for the second time. So I came here last in 2023, where I did a presentation on data strategy, and it's really good to be back. I want to thank the organisers for having me along again, and thanks for such a well-organised event. And thanks to all of you for coming along to see me as well, in this slot right before Professor Brian Cox, which makes me kind of the support act. Quick introduction, I'm Matt Richardson. I'm the Head of Data Engineering at Evolution Funding Group. My experiences range from career criminal in my early days to musical prodigy with amazing hair in my teens, and more recently an established data leader, that hair. So I've worked in various organisations across multiple sectors, but you'll find me these days heading up the data engineering team at Evolution Funding. I'm responsible for all aspects of data for the business, from data strategy through to data engineering and advanced analytics, including AI. If you're not familiar, Evolution Funding is the UK's largest used auto finance platform, and we've been in operation since 2002. During that time, we've established ourselves as the leading motor finance provider, and our goals are to transform the customer experience of taking out motor finance. And as you can see from this slide, which details our 2024 performance, we're a busy bunch, and we're only getting busier, as everyone else is. So over the past few years, we've acquired various other brokers and technology platforms. In 2023, we were acquired ourselves by Carlyle, who are a global investment firm, and they've been supporting our plans for future growth, including leveraging our 20 years of automotive data so that we can do cleverer things with it. We can explore things like machine learning and AI, and potentially impact ourselves and others that are in the same ecosystem that we operate in. We've also got close links with Microsoft, who've been supporting us with their various platform capabilities. So I'm not going to go into massive detail on what we're doing with AI at this stage, but some of our observations and some of the things that we've done have formed the basis behind this talk today. So with that in mind, this is the talk. This is me. So today what I want to do is to talk around some elements of what is and perhaps what isn't AI, some of the definitions of what that is, where we are today and what that might mean for you if you're involved in developing or bringing AI to your organization. I'll touch on some thoughts on challenges to implementation, some sensible approaches that might help in your own journey to do it, but really it's just about giving you a bit of food for thought in terms of AI in general, and to help you decide perhaps whether or not it's the right thing right now for you and your organization. Some of what I'm going to talk about might give you the impression that I'm not for AI, or that somehow I'm thinking it's I'm a bit of a skeptic, but that's not the case. I like to think I'm more pragmatic about the approach, so I'm not in for just kind of diving in feet first. I'm really excited about AI. I think it's ace, so we can make a start. But it is everywhere, right? So just walking through this conference hall, pretty much every single thing you see says, enabled by AI, enables AI, do AI with this. So it's completely understandable if people in technology in this room are starting to feel some kind of like AI fatigue a little bit, especially when especially when you're all being told that everybody else is doing it. So it puts us all under quite a lot of pressure. One thing I find quite amusing is when you speak to some people, a lot of people aren't aware that this isn't actually really new, or rather the foundations of it aren't. It's been around about a 100-year journey. This didn't happen overnight. From simple digital computing through to computers that can beat chess champions, and now all the way to the present day, the pace is nothing short of incredible, and it's not stopping. We're at the turning point of what people think now is going to be artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence. It's quite exciting, but at the same time a little bit daunting. There's worries and all kinds of things that people have. And it is literally everywhere. There's the tools we're all familiar with, the obvious places, all the tech companies. Every company with a website is now claiming that they have, or they are implementing AI technology and looking to embed it in some way. We've got tools we use daily, we've got coding tools, we've got project management tools, we've got creative tools, and even high street brands like Argos are now getting in on the action. I don't know if you're aware that Argos has this chatbot called Rufus. So it was my data engineer told me a couple of weeks ago that this had been developed, and I thought, this is going to be fun. You can have a chat with a chatbot about products at Argos. So I thought, I'm going to see if I can come up with something that's amusing for this talk. So the chatbot's called Trevor. I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but there's a point to this. So I decided that I was going to ask it to buy me a £10 secret Santa gift for a colleague who I'm not a fan of. You know, you open up the envelope and you go, oh, it's John from accounts. Ugh, hate that guy. So I thought, let's see what it can do. It gave me 3 options: dead safe, some socks, a Christmas stocking, and a Christmas tree decoration. But they're the kind of things I buy for someone I like. So that's what I said to the bot. I said, look, this is great, but I want something that surreptitiously says I don't like you. At which point it came back and said, all right, okay, you're looking for something polite but subtly cheeky. Why don't you give me a bit of a hint about the personality? So I thought, well, I'm going to continue to play the game and kind of go, don't get me started on the personality. I don't like the guy. Tell me, get me something. I don't know much about them other than the fact that I'm not the biggest fan. And it's at this point it went into safe mode. And it just kind of said, yeah, I can't find anything for you. And then it said, maybe try searching the Argos website. I don't think that's a bad thing. Maybe there's guardrails in place. Maybe it was being politely safe. And that's fine. It could have been a lot worse. It could have provided me with an idea of one of those little child's turd toys or something like that. But one area I felt was missing. There's another thing to this. If you do find an object on Argos that you like, and then you ask it to give you some information on reviews, for example, tell me what people have said about this, it then comes back and it says, I don't have access to that data. So it does make me wonder whether when these tools are made, they're built kind of on top of people, but they don't have people come in as focus groups to say, what would you actually want from this? And I'm going to come to that later on. Okay, so there's going to be some useful and practical stuff, but before that, I want us to play a quick game of AI or not. This was generated by AI, and you can tell because it's missed out the big blue dot that should be behind the question mark. So what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to raise your hands, if you can be bothered, and then I'd like you to put them down if you don't think what I'm going to show you on the screen is AI. So I'm going to show you some high-stream products that claim to be or claim to use AI in some way. So put your hands up if you want. Drop them if you don't think this is AI. So first of all, we have a steam iron, and this has got AI auto limescale attack system built into it. It's AI technology that detects limescale and then flushes it with steam. AI or not? Some AI, some nots. Maybe a sensor that can detect limescale in water and then does a if-then type thing. I'm being skeptical. I don't know anything about the tool. Maybe it does have some kind of AI built into it. If this is your product, I'm sorry. If any of these products are yours, I'm sorry. Next, hands up again, please. Now we have one of these Roomba-type bots with IntelliView AI. Now this says intelligent mess classification. It accurately classifies dry and wet messes. Down if you don't think it's AI, up if you think it is. So I thought this was interesting. The data scientist person in me saw the words classification, and I thought this is going to have some kind of random forest thing in it that's going to work out. It's been already trained on wet versus dry stuff, and that's sitting in the computer in the top bit, and then when it takes a picture, it's going to go, hey, I can tell which one it is. Turns out, no. When you look at this, and they don't go into detail, they say this is an AI algorithm, but apparently the operation of the vac processes images to identify subtle changes in surface reflections. So if it's reflective, it's wet. If it's not reflective, next up, AI air fryer. It's a good one. So this has got a built-in AI camera. It scans your food, it weighs the food, and it measures the food. AI, not AI? I think this is AI. The only downside to this is it can only detect the 12 foods that are in that circle. So if you're trying to cook anything that's not in that circle, you're buggered, you've got to go to manual mode. And a review actually said, better than I expected, but only works for 12 foods. I hope it works for other foods and it's not just locked to AI. If it is, that's a right old mess. Last of all, hands up if you think it's AI, down if not. This is the AI motion pillow. Okay, so this pillow detects snoring. And if it hears snoring, it has some mechanism that moves the pillow around to tilt your head to the left-hand side so that you can breathe better. That's the pitch. The blurb says it will detect snoring over a cat purring or a car outside. So, I don't know, some things. There's got to be something AI-ish in there, isn't there? Some kind of detection system. The last one, I don't want you to put your hands up for this one. I just love the marketing spin on this. So this is AI-powered laundry. It's washing machines and dryers. And the company that have built this have redefined and rebranded AI for their own, and they've referred to AI as affectionate intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence, it's affectionate intelligence, highlighting a commitment to develop empathetic and caring AI. So it's an empathetic and caring washing machine. Okay, so I guess at this point we can ask ourselves the question, well, there's various things we've kind of asked ourselves a question, are they AI or not? What is AI? What are the definitions for that? If you do a Google search, you'll find the top, well, it's 6 here, but the top 10 kind of results will all give you very similar words. You'll see things like human intelligent beings, human minds, human thinking, which then makes you wonder, are all implementations of what we refer to as AI really only things that humans can do? Because surely there's an intersection with the technology. So I'm pretty sure none of you in this room can sniff out limescale in an iron. So there's got to be something that there's an overlap with, right? So I put this slide together. This isn't complete. So if you look at this, you might go, hang on, Matt, you've missed some bits out. This is just kind of my general view of the AI landscape as it exists at the minute. So starting over on the left-hand side, we've got what I would refer to as machine learning, and that contains all the really clever, non-deterministic, trained on a load of data, does something with it type stuff. So deep learning containing Gen AI, classic machine learning, so your regression, your decision trees, your clustering, and then reinforcement learning. And then on the right-hand side, more of the symbolic rules-based AI, which a lot of people still say is AI, and it is in a sense. And this is the stuff that works on things like facts, rules, knowledge bases, if-then statements. So some of that kind of stuff you might have seen before, where we were thinking about the iron. It's got a sensor in it, it can detect a chemical, and then an if-then statement that says do this or do that. It's still considered AI, but we probably wouldn't think of it because we're always thinking on the more non-deterministic side. This is deterministic. The answer should always come out the same, whatever the inputs are. Okay, so we've got a view of what we think AI is. What I want to talk about now are some AI implementations. I'm not going to focus on good ones. This is where I was saying at the beginning, you might think I'm negative about AI. There are more cautionary tales about the implementation of AI. So we're going to start, you might have seen this one before, a company called Replit. They had a coding agent. While it was running some commands, it noticed some empty queries in a response, and as a result, it went into what it referred to itself as a panicked response and decided to delete the database that was sitting behind it. It's a little bit like this video of the child who gets the glass and he drops a little bit of the drink and then he goes, sod it, and he just pours the rest. Next example, McDonald's. Oh yeah. So McDonald's, they implemented an AI bot to help with drive-through orders. And it went rogue. And people were at the drive-through getting ordered massive amounts of chicken nuggets. And it started putting weird things in the ingredients. So we put bacon in the ice cream. McDonald's, I think it was IBM they were working with, they shelved that and decided that they were just going to work with people doing this stuff and wait a little bit longer, let it cook a bit longer. And then probably one of the darlings of the AI world in terms of AI agent implementation, Klarna. So they made waves maybe a couple of years ago where they replaced 700 people with AI. They had AI tools that were able to do so much and replace so much of the workforce. But what happened was they noticed a degradation in customer service quality over time, and they kind of doubled back and said, you know what, we'd better get some people in to help this along. So the tools are still there, they're still fabulous, they're still fantastic, but the initial excitement of let's get rid of everyone and replace it with machines was a little bit early, I think. So what about AI that isn't AI? What about maybe things that have been sold to you as AI that aren't? We talked about a couple of those at the beginning. That's not new. Back in 1770, this guy, Wolfgang von Kempelen, he developed an automated chess player, the Mechanical Turk. And that appeared to be able to play a perfectly good game of chess against human beings. And people got dead excited about it, and he went on all kinds of tours and showed people what was going on. What actually turned out was it was being done by a human being sitting inside the box. I don't know if the person was that tiny, but they were sitting inside the box. Fast forward to 2025, and there's been a recent event in the software world. You may have seen this one, a company called Builder AI, an AI software coding agent. And it was discovered that potentially there were a load of engineers writing the code. And I think that business has gone bust since. So, yeah, there are a couple of examples there of where perhaps we're being sold. There's a really good book called AI Snake Oil, and it's about that kind of thing. So is it all crap? Should we just shelve it? Should we just get rid of it? You know the answer to this. Of course we shouldn't. They're incredible tools, and if we're not using them, then we're definitely going to be lagging behind the people that are. But I think what we need to remember is that everything these run off, they're algorithms, they're models. They've been trained by humans. They've been trained on data generated by humans. And as a result, they're going to contain flaws. I don't think they're ever going to be 100% perfect. George Box, statistician, I love this phrase. It's been slightly paraphrased, but he said something along the lines of all models are wrong, but some are useful. And I think it's worth keeping in mind because all the AI tools we have at our disposal have the capability of doing stuff wrong, but if you're mindful of the limitations and the issues in them, you can make decisions on when and how to implement them correctly. Okay, a couple of weeks ago, one of my colleagues at Evolution Funding came to me and she'd been in a meeting, and in that meeting, there'd been some consultant who'd said, where are you on your journey to AI? And she said, I'm not entirely sure, I know we're doing some bits and bobs. And he said, well, it's good that you're on that because 85% of financial services organizations are implementing AI in their businesses right now. So she came to me in a bit of a fluster and said, we're behind, what are we going to do? And I thought, well, 85% sounds a little bit extreme. That's got to be a sales pitch, right? So I did a bit of research. So this year, Accenture found that 36% of organizations had scaled Gen AI solutions, and only 13% had created significant enterprise-level value. To back that up, IBM found that only 25% of AI initiatives delivered expected return on investment. And skipping down a couple of bullet points, 64% of CEOs that were spoken to acknowledged that a risk of falling behind was the driver behind the adoption of AI, rather than understanding what the value was that they wanted it to bring. So a little bit of FOMO, bandwagon jumping kind of a thing. 37%, on the other hand, though, said better to be fast and wrong. Just dive in. Deloitte last year claimed that 18 to 36% of leaders thought that AI was benefiting to a large or very large degree. So if only 13% create significant enterprise-level value, then that's 85 plus 87% that didn't work, that perhaps didn't come up to muster. So what's going on there? Why do AI projects fail? Why aren't they happening? And the Rand Corporation last year estimated that more than 80% of AI projects fail. And they gave a few reasons why. A misunderstanding of the problem that's trying to be solved, not actually getting it, not knowing what it is that they're trying to do with it. A lack of necessary data to train the model, especially those in-house models. Can they train it so that it's accurate enough in the predictions that it's giving? Big one, technology hype over solving real problems, the fear of missing out. You might have seen this. You might have seen this in, there's a data engineering book that this is in, and it's been going for a while. But a guy called Dan Ariely said of big data that it's like teenage sex. Everybody talks about it. Nobody really knows how to do it. Everybody thinks everyone else is doing it, so everyone says they're doing it. And the same kind of applies for AI. Everyone's got that fear of missing out. They're all talking about kind of what they want to do, and they want to jump on it because they think everyone else is doing it. Other reasons are inadequate infrastructure. And sometimes the problems are just too difficult for AI to solve. People think too big. They're trying to boil the ocean. They're trying to get an AI to do all the things all at once. A couple of other reasons in there are around things like talent and finance, so people who can actually do this and understand what's going on. And look, these are thin on the ground. If you go and apply for a job that says you need 10 years experience in Gen AI, you know something's wrong, right? But you see them. Finances, there's a bit about fear and explainability. So if you've got even a machine learning model that will predict or have an outcome for a customer, such as granting them acceptance for a loan, and someone comes along and says, tell me why and how it did that, if you can't explain that, then that worries people. So they kind of go, I don't want to touch that. Similarly, instability. You've seen this before. Pictures of people with 12 hands, hallucinations, all that other kind of stuff. Weird answers coming back from the bots. I was trying to get Argos to do, but it didn't. So, lots of different things to think about. How do we do AI successfully? This is not an exhaustive list. This is just some of my observations, some of the things that I've kind of pulled together from some of the things that you've just seen now. So we'll start with strategy, goals, and objectives. So you need a data strategy in your organization, and it should serve the overall business strategy. It shouldn't be in isolation. It shouldn't be by itself. It's a subset of a bigger picture. You want to make sure you've got the appropriate sponsorship from the business as well as accountability. So if something goes wrong, it can't just be on the person that developed the AI. The whole business has to own this. And then, look, the middle bit is, I keep on going on about this, not doing AI for the sake of it. Don't do it because of FOMO. Don't do it because you feel everyone else is doing it. Actually articulate what you think the problem is you're trying to solve. And is AI the solution to that problem? If AI wasn't here now and you had a problem, how would you have solved it? And will AI do it better? If the answer is no and you're honest with yourself, then perhaps AI isn't for that problem. Clear KPIs and success metrics, they're important. How do you know that what you've implemented is actually doing any good? So I'm not picking on Argos, but how do Argos know that that bot is doing something better? Are they selling better? Do they have a before it and after it that they can use to measure? That's really important. And then the last thing, which isn't a bullet, it's just a main point, the focus should be on putting your customers first and solving problems by using technology, not the other way around. So a bit of cart before the horse. You've got AI, let's find a problem to solve with it, rather than we have a problem to solve, can AI solve it? I'll whiz through this one because this one should be, everyone should get this one. Good data quality, especially if you're doing things in-house or you're training machine learning models, it should be quality and representative data. You should have sufficient data to train and validate and generalize. Data integrity, data governance, data management, I could go on forever about those. There's loads and loads of resource on them, but they are important. You've got to look after your data like the asset it is. It's important. It's one of your most important assets. And AI is only good as the data that you train it on. So make sure it's good data. All of this stuff should be common sense to everyone in this room. So many things to cover on this slide. They could have been in previous slides. Responsible AI. So compliance and regulatory. So staying within the boundaries of what you're allowed to do. The ethics. Staying within the boundaries of what's right to do, what you're supposed to do. Security and privacy are obvious. So that's protecting data and respecting your users' rights. Especially in respect to training data. We've all seen issues where OpenAI are getting in trouble for having trained their models on stuff that they shouldn't be training it on, pictures that are owned by other people, books, movies. Like, should have some take on what it is that you're training your models on and that you've got the appropriate approval to do that. Detection and reduction of bias. So again, using the example of somebody being accepted alone, it shouldn't be accepting more males than females, ideally, or people from different ethnic groups. It should be balanced, it should be unbiased, unless a natural bias does exist, I guess. And really important is to have a human in the loop in these things. There should be committees with people talking about this stuff. There should be someone watching it and making sure it does what it's supposed to be doing. I think that's key to success. And I'm going to come on to this a few more times. People are super important in this. Despite the fact that we keep on talking about AI replacing people, people need to be in the mix for it to work properly. Capabilities. So do you have the right budgets to do this? How far can you scale in terms of spend? Which links into technology and infrastructure. It's not for free. None of this, especially if you're doing stuff in the cloud, you've got to be able to afford it. You've got to understand, do you have the technology required to make it happen? Can you scale it if you suddenly get a massive amount of unexpected load in your systems? It might not be for you to solve, but the conversations you should start to have with your architecture and infrastructure teams. And then again, people and expertise. So I'm talking there about people to develop, test, train, monitor, and manage the AI products that you're building. People that understand what's going on and who can understand what's going on under the hood as much as they're able to. Back to people again. So business and user buy-in. So the users within your business that might be using AI tools that you've developed. We've got an example at the moment where we have account managers who look after used car dealers within the UK. They operate on gut feel and some numbers that get spit out of reports. But we're trying to build a machine learning model that will give them an idea of when their dealers are showing some signs of churn. And they're finding that really hard because they use that gut feel and they use the numbers. So trying to get them to understand how to use this and how it's a benefit is and can be a bit of a struggle. Getting some key people within the business who can talk about it and spread it a little bit, hopefully like wildfire, is quite important. And then last of all, end user engagement. We go back to the Argos thing here. I feel like I'm really picking on Argos. I'm not. I think it's a great tool, but did they ask end users what they wanted it to do? Is this a tool forced on users, or is this something that users have said, I actually would really love to talk to a bot about what I want to buy my person who I hate? Last of all, be bold and be brave. We've got this incredible technology, and taking into account the previous caveats and guidance, we should be being ambitious. We should be thinking big, but we should be starting quite small. So not an agent that does 21 million things. Start to think about individual agents with specific specialisms and tie them together, hand off to each other, if that makes sense. Don't worry about over-engineering things from the start. Get a POC. Don't be afraid to fail, but don't do stupid. Don't do stupid. If you spot it doing some stupid stuff, alarm bells should be ringing. Any technology project is never done. When's the data warehouse done? Never. When's the website finished? Never. There's always something to fix, right? And it's the same with this. You need to monitor, tweak, deploy, repeat, ad infinitum. You should be making sure your training data is regularly updated so it doesn't go stale and you end up with issues. And then finally, look, I've just put it in bold, be creative. We've got this opportunity to look at these tools and think about amazing things we can do with it. And I think if people spend more time not being scared of it and trying to think about cool things they can do with it, they've got a better chance of not being part of the 80% that sits in that failure space. That's it from me. I've not covered everything. That's just a list of some things that I thought I'd go through. I hope I've given you something to think about. And if you are involved, if any of you are involved in implementing AI or machine learning initiatives, I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you very much.